I'm going to put the recording on so people can hear this if they tune in. Yes, the big burning question for today is, do we have class next week? Well, unofficially, yes. Officially, no. So here's what we'll do. So it's I have to say unofficially, yes, because I am going to do a little session next week. We're not supposed to. Okay, I don't get paid. Scottsdale does not pay for us to have class because they say, well, it's federal holiday. So it's that thing. It's a federal holiday thing. So officially, we don't have class. Unofficially, I will do a class. Unofficially, I will start and I will run it from the 10 o'clock hour. I'll run just 1 hour since it's unofficial and I don't get paid. 10 to 11, boom, and that'll be it. But it'll be more of a, I don't want to say game oriented, but it won't be lesson oriented because it's a federal holiday. And because it's not listed on the class dates. If people specifically plan their schedule around that, I have to assume they will not be here necessarily. So yes, I will be here. Yes, we will have a session. It'll be 1 hour instead of an hour and a half. Para que sepan, just so you guys know. And it'll be more fun oriented. I'm looking up it'll be more vocab, like purely vocab, just kind of plain kind of oriented. Yeah. See,
I have to share this with you because I was just writing someone that I'm in a Spanish class and it did a spell correct on it. And thank God I looked at it before I sent it because it came up that I am in a spanking class.
Oh, oops.
Sanctions.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why we have those things. Okay. Vamos a empezar. We're gonna start with the burning questions, the half-hour burning questions. The burning question things, like things not necessarily related to class, but what do you have questions on that you ran across in Duolingo and anything else where it's like, what the heck is this about? Oh, nada. Wow.
No. Tengo una pregunta.
Okay, dime, sí.
I'm going to try and say it in Spanish. So,
Yeah.
¿Cuál es la diferencia entre saber and conocer? I know you went over this, but I keep making the same mistake over and over.
Okay, bien, buena pregunta. Good question. Y vale la pena repasar eso. It is definitely I'm just pulling up my little files. Uy, ¿dónde? Tenía más. I thought I had more. Okay. A ver. Es fácil. That's an easy one to do. It is way easier than learning ser and estar. Way easier. You know what we're going to do? We're going to pull up a big share screen for this question. Saber y conocer, aquí. Here we go. Saber. Saber is for to know, but for information and for, how to do something. Okay, so saber has two kind of main functions. Okay, and one is to talk about knowing information, and the other is for indicating that you know how to do something. But the how word doesn't need to be there. Okay, because it's kind of built into the idea of that verb saber. So, and another little clue that sometimes people know that's related to the know information, it means that you know facts, you know stuff, right? If we are using an interrogative, then saber is the right choice. So let's look at an interrogative words of who, what, when, where, why. Okay, so first thing you need to know about saber is here is the odd form for yo. It is not sabo. If you say sabo, nobody will think you are saying I know, because that word just isn't there. Bien, but whoops. And here are the forms of saber. It's only really irregular for yo, but when we want to talk about knowing information, so sé, sé
It should be
todos los nombres
saber, not
de-
saber. Okay.
de los estados de Estados Unidos. I know all the state names of the United States. Sé todos los nombres de los estados. I know all the names of the states. That's information. It's just facts. Sé, perdón. Sabemos.
Yeah.
Sabemos quiénes son tus vecinos. We know who your neighbors are. We know, and now I want you to notice something, who your neighbors are. Who is an interrogative word. Sabemos quiénes son tus vecinos. Oh, we know who your neighbors are. Okay. Por ejemplo, ¿sabes dónde está? ¿Sabes dónde está la farmacia? Do you know where the pharmacy is? Words that have a where, a who, those are asking about information, facts. Okay. And they use saber. An example of the how to do something is sé esquiar. I know how to ski. And the word how never gets translated because we don't need it. We don't need the word how. So you don't put in a como esquiar. It's just sé esquiar. Por ejemplo, sabemos hablar español. We know how to speak Spanish. Okay, so when we use it with how to do something, that means we're pairing it up. We're pairing up the saber form, however we conjugate it, with an interrogative, with a non-conjugated, because when I have two verbs walking together, talking about the same action, the first verb gets conjugated, the second verb just goes along for the ride. The second verb doesn't get conjugated. So, sé esquiar, sabemos hablar español, así, like that. Okay. So we would never say sabemos hablamos, because that wouldn't make any sense. Sabemos hablar. We know how to speak. And the how is the word that doesn't get translated. Conocer is a little different animal. Conocer is to know, as in to be familiar with. And this indicates kind of a deep level of understanding. Not just knowing a fact, but really being familiar with something, to know your way around, if you will. Okay, kind of can have that connotation to it. But the big number one thing we need to know is we use it to say that you know people or a person. Okay, and whether we call them by their first name or their last name or by the title, whenever you say, you know, a person, we use conocer. We cannot use saber to say we know a human being, another human being. Okay, the number two use for it is often when we talk about knowing a place from firsthand experience. Okay, and that's why I included that idea of to know your way around. Okay. It would be appropriate for me, because I used to live there, to say, conozco Chicago. I know my way around Chicago. I mean, I know Chicago. I know it. I have lived there. I have visited there at some point, and I know my way around. I am familiar. It's the idea of that familiar with. We often use it when we talk about a place, and that place can be as small as a restaurant, as large as a city, as large as a country. Okay. So we use it to talk about knowing your way around an area, but you have to have been there to use conocer with the place. Okay. So conozco Chicago, conozco España. Okay, again, I know Spain. I am familiar with Spain, meaning I have been there. So the implication, whenever you use conocer with a place, is I have been there. Okay, and you can't just use it to say, you know, facts. Okay, so por ejemplo, it would not be appropriate, or would be appropriate to say, sé dónde está la India. I know where India is. That's just information. Pero no la conozco. I know where India is, but I am not familiar with it, meaning I have never been there. Okay. When we use conocer with people, we need that little word in front of the human beings. So conozco a tus parientes. I now know. I know your relatives. Yeah.
Is conocer sometimes used in meeting people?
It can also mean to meet people.
Okay, so that is, okay.
Yes. But in that case, you'll usually hear it, well, not necessarily, but often in the past.
Okay.
Por ejemplo, you know, you're inviting somebody. ¿Quieres conocer a mis padres? And it looks like it means, do you want to know my parents? But what that really means is, do you want to meet my parents? Yeah. So conocer can also, often does have the idea of meet, but meet as in the first time, not I'm meeting my friends for coffee today, not that meet, not meet up, but meet for the very first time. Okay, so conocer can do that. So often it'll be in the past. So here's a past. Conocí a tu colega ayer. I met, and that there conocer is in the past. I met your colleague, your coworker yesterday.
Mhm.
Okay, so conocer can also have that, definitely that meaning, connotation of meet. Does that answer your question? Sí, bien.
Sí, gracias, muchas
De
gracias.
nada, de nada. Es un placer. Okay. We've got another question here in chat box. Gracias. Okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
There was another verb last week where you said too much trouble. So if this is too involved.
No, this is not too involved. Not
Okay.
really. Not really. But we are going to kind of clear the board. The other question is, be easier if I clear that out so we don't have a lot of mishmash and visual confusion going on here. This idea, llevo trabajando. Have I got that right?
See,
Sí. Llevo trabajando aquí. And wait a minute, what the heck is that about? Okay. Llevar is a tiny bit problematic in that llevar has multiple meanings. Llevar can mean to wear clothing, but usually they use that just in Spain. Usually they don't use llevar for clothing, wearing clothing in Latin America as much. They use other ways to say that. But llevar can mean to carry, to transport, to
Yeah.
take along. It can even mean to bring
see,
in the right context. And sadly, it means none of those things in that example. Here's what it means in this example. Llevo is often used with a period of time.
oh,
And then an ing verb. And here is what it means in that situation. I have been
see, that's how it was translated.
doing something for, I don't know, how long? Yeah. Okay. So un ejemplo, an example. And literally it's like, I'm hanging here doing this for so long. Okay, you get testy with the people at the office. You're there for an appointment. Llevo 40 minutos esperando aquí en el consultorio del doctor. And what that really means is I have been waiting around here for 40 minutes in the doc's office.
Mhm. So it has to
Llevo-
have a period of time in order to use that.
Yeah, a period of time. Now, the
Phrase.
period of time could be vague. Llevamos mucho tiempo esperando. We have been waiting around here a long time. It could be vague, like mucho tiempo. It could be a specific period of time, like 40 minutos, 1 hora, 5 minutos, lo que sea, whatever. Yeah. Sometimes people even say things like, llevamos 11 años aquí en Barcelona. We have been here without the ing part. Yeah. We've been here for 11 years. So llevar can have a very specific meaning with doing something for a period of time. It's kind of a colloquial use of llevar.
Okay.
But llevar is a bugaboo in a way, because llevar can morph to different meanings depending on how it's used in context. And that is the specific one you asked about. Buena pregunta. Good question. Okay. Más preguntas o no? No. Bien. I do want to ask one little question. And I got to pull up the little video so you can see what I'm talking about here. Este video. This video, wow, it's 14 minutes long. So my desire was for you guys to listen to that outside of class and not to spend all 14 minutes on that. But do we need to do any little translation on that or no?
Oh, that
No.
was good.
It was
Made
really
sense?
good.
That was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, very good.
Sí,
It was a great video, very understandable.
excelente, excelente. Me gusta, me gusta. Okay, I like that. I will only come back to that one time to show you an oddity about vocabulary when we get to it, because there is, besides the fact that it looks odd compared to some of our candies, besides that, which it was odd, especially los dedos. Yeah. Wow. Was that weird? Was that weird or what? But it goes to show you how there are many, many different words that are used for candies. Yeah, and I want to like throw out some ideas of things you may hear people say, because this is something that people actually sell on the streets. It's something that is like, as you walk along in a big city, it's common for people to have, for even little kids to sell candy, but more commonly, something you'll typically find at kiosks and things like that. Okay. Fantastico. We're going to do a lot today with comparaciones, comparisons, but we're still going to do the unequal comparisons. And I'll be sending you off in little groups to work that. So that'll be a main focus today. We're going to have a lot more people coming in pretty soon here. Dentro de 5 minutos, within about 5 minutes. Sí. Vale.
Marilyn,
Sí,
I
sí.
don't want to make more work for you, but some of those articles that you gave us last summer, early fall, you had one on Joe Biden, you had one on a couple of other
Oh, reading?
readings. Yeah, can you throw up a reading once in a while?
Sure. Sí,
You know,
claro. Claro. I want to make
that-
sure I pick an appropriate level.
Uh,
But sí, pero sí, yeah. Yeah, okay. There are there are a whole bunch of sources I use for my upper level classes, but I have to make sure I keep it within an easy to understand level, something that doesn't throw in a ton of past tense. Sí, gracias.
yes.
Buena sugerencia, good suggestion. Okay. Fantastico. Pam, 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 pam. Okay. I'm glad you liked the video. I've got another couple of those waiting in the works for the coming week. Para la semana que viene. Okay. Y que, momentito. One other thing that I'm hoping to touch on very, very soon is a little bit of some ways that we're going to use those itty bitty words you hear all the time, but they're annoying as all get out, lo and le, and oh my God, what are all of those? And does it make a difference? And short answer is yes, it makes a difference, but the long answer is you can at least be in the ballpark, even if you don't, hit the home run with those words. So I am hoping we'll have time to touch on that today. Hoy en día. Momentito. I need to find my examples. Aquí. Okay. So a little example of lo. You'll hear lo a lot. Okay. Here is one thing you'll hear people using lo for a great, great, great deal. And this is a real simple and short and sweet thing that I can share. Uy, perdón. Well, if it will let me. Okay, it won't let me. So try that again. Bien. Okay. Here's something you're going to hear people using all the time. Lo sé. Lo sé.
Mm.
Lo sé, because this ties into what we just did. Lo sé. I know. And the word lo implies it. When you hear lo used with something like lo sé, whereas a lot of times we in English might just say, oh, I know, or I know about that. Generally, it doesn't get truncated so much just down to the word say. It'll get, usually it comes out of a native speaker's mouth as, lo sé, I know. And I know, and the lo implies an it. Lo can mean it when you're just referring to a situation, okay? But that word lo, when it's used like that, will usually be right in front of the verb, okay? So the lo, when you hear it that way, comes in front of a verb. And that is very, very oddball for the English ear, because we say, I know it. But literally in Spanish, you say it, I know. Lo sé. Another way we use lo. Lo generally will mean it, or it could mean him, or it can mean a masculine thing. It referred to a masculine thing. Yeah. So, okay, por ejemplo. El periódico. Lo tengo. El periódico. Sí, lo tengo. I have it. Lo tengo aquí. Lo tengo aquí. People will hand you stuff in Spanish and say, aquí lo tienes, or aquí lo tiene usted. Here you have it. And it's like in English, we would say, here you go. You know, somebody says, hey, do you have today's paper? Oh, here you go. Or I'll give it to you. In Spanish, that's expressed as aquí lo tiene. Here you have it. Here you have it. So you'll hear lo used in that way. And the lo is referring to periódico, newspaper. Okay. So it's a quick way of saying it, because this is a masculine thing. So similarly, if you're talking about a feminine thing and you want to say it, but it's referring to a feminine thing, or if you want to say her, if lo was the feminine way, the way to refer to that as, excuse me, if lo is a masculine way, the feminine way is la. Okay. So those are two easy ways that you'll hear lo. Lo tiene, here you have it. Or people saying lo sé, I know, but literally they're saying I know it. And that is a frequently used little structure. So that's one way to use lo. Okay. Aquí viene. Here comes everybody. I'm going to attempt to get some of our breakout rooms assigned a little bit ahead of time. We want to use some comparisons today. So I'm going to talk to you about our comparisons we're going to use. Oops. While we're talking about that.
Marilyn,
now, see,
while you are talking, just from a scheduling perspective, I noticed, is it true that we do not have scheduled class for next week?
yes. Okay. Yes. Quickie again.
Okay.
Correct. Schedule. Scottsdale did not schedule it. I am going to do a quick session for everybody. However, okay. So I don't get paid for it, but I'm going to do a session. It will be an hour instead of an hour and a half. And I'm going to do it from 10 to 11. So you'll get a little Zoom notification, but it will be hopefully a quickie one. Oh, and it won't be related to class. So when I give you guys homework, nothing in that homework will be covered in next week. It'll be a more purely kind of fun oriented kind of thing. Bien. I'm just getting my stuff lined up here. Vale. Ooh, I'm missing one person here. Okay. Today we're going to use a lot of pictures to talk about comparisons. Okay, and the reason we're going to use pictures is that it gives you a more natural, means, because generally when we respond to people and we make comparisons, we do that from seeing something, I mean, that's something jogs your brain, and that's the way that rolls. So we're going to do it the way you would generally see it in real life. Momentito. When I've got somebody listed as iPad 1, somebody give me a quick shout out who that is. I'm assigning some names. Okay. A ver. Another quick thing. I've got a few other people to put in here. Okay. Momentito. Y, uy, perdón. Okay. Vale. We're going to do a quick item with let me do this. See, momentito. With these two little things, if we were going to compare these two little things here, because I gave you these in the homework, and you didn't really maybe know the words for those. And actually, this shows you again the difficulty of vocabulary. In Mexico, they call that little bird a chuparrosa, or in other places, probably almost every place except for Mexico, they call it el colibrí. But notice that one is masculine, one is feminine, and both those words talk about that little species. Okay, it happens to have two names. Also, there are two names for that other furrier looking bird we know as an owl, el búho, and we have to ignore the H, el búho, or la lechuza, see? Let's see if we can compare just those two things. Just those two things. What could we say to compare those two animals, los animales?
The color.
Colibrí.
El color del colibrí es mejor que el búho.
El búho, el colibrí es mejor que el búho. Okay, that's one comparison you can make. And by the way, there are very few wrong comparisons you can make here, because some of these are subjective, some are objective. If you think one is better than the other, mejor, that's a judgment call. El colibrí es mejor que el búho. Okay, but the only way it would be wrong would be if you said el colibrí es más grande que el búho. Yeah, you couldn't say that, because that would be a factual thing, and a hummingbird is generally not bigger than an owl. So, okay. Okay. ¿Qué más? What else might we say about these two?
El burro es más grande que el chuparros. Chuparros.
La chuparrosa, and chuparrosa means sucks on roses. Yeah, I know. Well, that's what they do. Okay. Bien. I could say, el búho come. I could even talk about actions. El búho come más carne que la chuparrosa. El búho come más
Eats more
carne.
meat than eats more meat.
Sí, sí, sí. Es carnívoro. Sí.
Eat meat.
Bien. I could say, just to give you an idea of how many things, this is wide open. El búho duerme más en los
Más.
días que la chuparrosa. El búho tiene ojos más grandes que la chuparrosa. La chuparrosa es más colorida
Más colorido.
que es más colorida. Sí,
Colorful.
sí, tiene más colores que el búho. Bien.
Sí.
So there are many, many ways we could use to compare these, but remember, we're going to be using ideas of más que, más a description que. And when we use this little description, we want to look back at whatever the first thing is, and it goes into that gender and number, okay, as the first thing you're describing. We can also say things are less than. So más, a description in que, or menos, a description in que. All right. We can even use it with verbs, to be honest, but those are going to be what we're going to do. So I want to send you off into some smaller groups to talk about some things, and you're going to get these in your Zoom rooms. They're going to be four things, and I think that's going to be obvious. Vamos a comparar los perros. Ustedes van a comparar los perros. I'll give you about 5 minutes to work these. Don't think of every description. Just come up with one good description for each of the four categories. Los perros, las flores. Okay. Daisies are called margaritas. Daisies are called margaritas. Rosas are rosas, right? I should have put in what some of these are called, because some of you maybe don't know. El pastor alemán, German shepherd, sí, bien. La chihuahua, well, that one is kind of
Chihuahua.
obvious, right? Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. Oh, yeah, okay. Here we've got, here we've got margaritas. Tenemos margaritas. Y aquí tenemos las rosas. Bien, bien. Here we would just say chocolates de Hershey, chocolates de Godiva, ¿sí? Bien. Y películas, película de Spider-Man, película de West Side Story, ¿sí? Bien. Vale, so, we're not going to try to translate titles. We're just going to keep those simple there, okay? But I want you to compare with your partners in the Zoom rooms these four categories of things for about 5 minutes, and then we'll bring you back and see what you came up with. Okay. And I will send that picture out to you once you all get into the Zoom room. It won't come into the Zoom room until you all join in. So hit your join button. And then when everybody does that, I can send the picture out to the Zoom rooms. Bien. Okay. Y vamos a ver, sí. Muy bien. Any big questions? Sí o no? No? Fácil?
Well,
No.
there's
Yeah.
there's so much to remember of putting the article and the right pronoun and then the right
Ascolto.
noun and coming up with that in a translation is a real challenge for me.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can understand it if I read it,
Yeah.
but you know,
But to say it is, yeah, which is why we want to give you a chance to say it today. Hoy, sí. Eso es normal. That is a very, very normal reaction. Y gracias. Thank you for saying that because sí, es la verdad. That is the truth. That it, you know, to read it is one thing, but, you know, this is naturally what happens to you in a real life setting. You see something and you want to talk about it. So this is pretty realistic for the way we need to speak. Okay, unos ejemplos, some examples of ways we can compare these. Alguien, who wants to share something you did in your group?
Las rosas cuesta más que las margaritas.
Las rosas cuestan más. And remember, there are very few wrong answers with these because there are different ways you can compare things. Las rosas cuestan más que las margaritas. Roses cost more than daisies. Eso es, magnífico. Otras cosas. Anything else?
Las
No.
rosas, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Padmini.
Las rosas más bonitas que las margaritas.
Son más bonitas, sí.
Son, okay.
Son más bonitos. Okay.
Las rosas son más bonitas que
Son,
las
'cause it's plural.
margaritas. Las rosas son, son más vivas. They're more vibrant looking. Sí. Vibrant in color. Sí. Bien. Okay. ¿Algo más?
La chihuahua es más yappier que el pastor alemán.
Okay. La chihuahua ladra. Wow, ladra más. La chihuahua.
How do you spell that?
Ladra. I've got it on my share screen right underneath. ¿Pueden ver? Can you see him? Do I have him on share screen? See?
Ladra.
Ladra. Ladra. Ladra más que el pastor alemán. Sí, muchas veces, sí, eso es verdad. Bien, Trish.
La dulce del Godiva es más rico el chocolate de Hershey.
Okay, and so, and we're, instead of saying a de, we're going to put in a que.
Oh, I meant to.
Yeah, el dulce de
Okay.
Godiva es más
Rico.
Rico, sí.
Okay.
Sí, que Hershey, que el chocolate de Hershey, sí. Bien. Okay, sí, Bill.
La película de West Side Story es más interesante que la película de Spider-Man.
Exacto, muy bien. Vale, sí. La película de West Side Story tiene más música que la película de Spider-Man. Sí. Okay, vale, sí. My children might say, one of my children might say, la película de West Side Story es más aburrida que la película de Spider-Man. Sí, depends on who you're talking to. But, you know, comparisons are value oriented. Okay, bueno, ¿qué más? What other examples might you have had?
La chihuahua es más fea que el pastor alemán.
Ah, ok. Vale, sí. Bueno, ¿qué más?
Las
Di.
rosas son más hermosas que la chihuahua.
Ah, sí, sí, eso es. Ok, di.
It's not apple to apple.
La
Diane, come
margaritas
on.
hay más margaritas que las rosas.
Ah, hay más margaritas. There are more. Sí, se puede decir. Yes, you can say that. Hay más margaritas que las rosas. You're starting to give examples of all the different ways we can compare these. Okay, algo más de esto. Something more from this screen, or we'll move on to a different one.
El pastor alemán es más guapo que la chihuahua.
Okay. El pastor alemán es más fuerte. Es más fuerte, ¿sí? Es más grande. Es más grande, ¿sí? You are more likely to hear es más grande rather than es mayor. You know, if they're really comparing a greater dog as in like some noble breed, you might hear mayor, but usually we use reserve, usually mayor in most cases, in most situations for age, but you will sometimes hear mayor used as greater. Okay. Vale, bien. Okay.
Would you
Perdón, Doug?
would you say la Chihuahua es más pequeño que el pastor alemán?
Sí, but we're going to change that pequeño to pequeña.
Oh,
La
pequeña.
Chihuahua es más pequeña.
Yeah, right.
La
'cause it's
Chihuahua es más pequeña que, sí,
Uh-huh.
es más pequeña que el pastor alemán. Exacto.
Okay.
Exacto.
Okay.
Exactly right. Okay. So you're seeing that it's really wide open as to how you can compare them. Okay. Here are the 4 things you're going to compare. And I'm just going to, I'm going to put in here, I didn't think I had to make these obvious, but once you kind of take into account having smaller screens, we've got La Comida Mexicana, and then we're going to compare La Comida Mexicana with La Comida China.
China
La
or
Comida China. I've got to
japonesa?
find a good
China.
color to put that in. La Comida China. Well, that's not ideal, but I don't think I'm going to get an ideal color there. We'll try to move this to a place where we can read it. La Comida China. La Comida Mexicana, La Comida China. Pastel is usually used for pastry, for cakes of any kind. El pastel de chocolate, and you will hear people using cheesecake or cheesecake. I know. Even on Mexican restaurant menus, sometimes they don't translate. You know, it really should be. I've heard people say they should say pastel de queso. Pastel de queso would mean a cheesecake. And they say, why don't they list it as pastel de queso? But apparently you will see it listed as cheesecake. Okay, cheesecake. Yeah, and they'll pronounce it as if it were Spanish. That's a weird thing, just so you know. But pastel is generally the word we use for pies and cakes. So we'll put el pastel in here, and we'll put that in white so that you can see it when you get out to your Zoom rooms. Okay, el pastel. And you'll notice say de chocolate or de queso, whatever. Un Tesla y un Mercedes-Benz. Las mariposas y las abejas. Las mariposas, las abejas. Bien, okay? Those are the things that you're going to see when you go into your breakout rooms. So you're going to compare those 4 things. And some of them may be factual again. Some of them may be opinion that is wide open. Okay. Okay.
Pregunta.
Sí, dime, Tomás.
We were trying to compare un Tesla y un Mercedes-Benz, and we were trying to use tan, but so we were trying to say that they're basically cost the same.
Oh,
We didn't know how to structure
okay. That's
using.
That's a different set of words, which I want to get to today.
Tan como.
Yeah, it's a different combination of words. If you're going to use as, you cannot use the que word
as.
anymore. We need to throw out the word que and we need to sub in a different word. So gracias, Tomás. We'll come to that when we get, yeah. I want to get your examples first and then we'll show how that works. Excelente. Buena pregunta. Bill, sí.
Maybe I just heard Thomas ask at the end of the question, but I was trying to figure out how to say equally as well as, and the other thing was that as much as.
We're going to do that.
Okay.
See, that's exactly the question he had, Bill, and we're going to
Okay.
talk about that when we get everybody's uneven comparisons out of the way first. Sí, bien. Excelente. Okay. And so we're going to come to the as much as at the end when we're done with this set. What other, ¿cuáles son los ejemplos? What are your examples?
We can't see the pictures anymore.
Oh, perdón. Perdón. Aquí vienen. Here they come. Okay.
Ready?
Sí, sí.
Las abejas son más peligroso que las mariposas.
Okay. And because abejas are feminine, we're going to say peligrosas.
Peligrosas.
Sí. Son más las abejas son más peligrosas. They're more dangerous que las mariposas. Bien, bien, fantástico. Okay. ¿Qué más?
En la comida china son las selecciones.
Oh, okay. Hay más.
There are.
Hay más variedad. Hay más variedad. Hay más tipos de comida. ¿Sí? La comida china tiene más que se puede elegir. You know, yeah, that's a little more complicated to say, but hay más que se puede comer. There's more that you can eat, more types of king. Hay más tipos. Hay más tipos de platos. Hay más. Sí, hay más hay más tipos de platos en la comida china, ¿sí? Comparado con la comida mexicana, ¿ok? ¿Qué más?
No sé que la Tesla es más caro o cara que un Mercedes-Benz.
No sé que un Tesla, es más caro que un Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, I don't know if it is more expensive. Okay, vale. ¿Qué más?
Me gusta la comida mexicana más que la comida china.
Me gusta más. I like it better. Me gusta más la comida mexicana que la comida china. Exacto. Muy bien. Fantástico. Hay más. Any more? Oh, Trish, ¿tienes?
Las abejas hacen más ruidas.
Ruido. Keep it ruido.
Que las mariposas.
Las abejas hacen más ruido. Make more noise. Hacen más ruido que las mariposas.
But why you don't use ruida? You don't use ruida? Because it's less.
Ruido is noise. It is a noun. So if you say they make more noise, hacen más ruido. So here, okay, I'm going to put in the little box what might change. If I were to use, if I use the word noisy, that's ruidoso, ruidoso. Ruidoso means noisy. Okay, so I can say las abejas son más ruidos. Ooh, it got to be ruidosas because it's abejas. Las abejas son más ruidosas que las mariposas. Okay. There I'm using noisy. And noisy is a description, flat out a description. And therefore, ruidosas becomes feminine and plural because abejas is feminine and plural. But if I use ruido, which just means noise, noise is no longer a description. It is a thing. It is a noun. And I can say hacer ruido means to make noise. This just goes to show you all the different ways we can compare these comparison expressions. Then I can say las abejas hacen, they make más ruido. And I'm sorry that capitalized it there. Que las mariposas. The bees make more noise. Hacen más ruido. Make
Okay.
more noise. And now I can't really do anything with that word ruido because ruido is a noun in and of itself, and that's got to stay as the word ruido. It's no longer a description. It is a thing. Hacen más ruido. Make more noise. That's still a comparison, though. Hacen más ruido. Exacto. Muy bien. You're kind of starting to see all the complexities we can throw in with this. Yeah, see? Bien. We had a really good question come up. What if I want to say a Tesla is just as much, it costs just as much, or is as expensive as? Now we're comparing two things that are on the same level. Yeah. Okay. So there's something that happens. Yeah, there's something that happens. We use different word structures, different word order to make things equal comparisons as opposed to unequal comparisons. Okay. For equal comparisons, and in English, we say as blank, 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 as expensive as fast as luxurious as. All right. Instead of as, we need to say tan.
And como.
Or maybe it might become tanto. It kind of depends on how you use it. And here's your description word, en como. Instead of más que or menos que, I have to use two different word structures. Okay. I'm going to take the tanto out for a moment. Okay. So if I want to say expensive, ¿cómo se dice expensive? Price. Caro. Okay. The way you say Tesla, un Tesla es tan caro, or you might say costoso. That also means pricey. Un Tesla es tan caro or tan costoso como un Mercedes-Benz. Okay. Un Tesla es tan caro como. Tan has to be in here. Tan. Here's our description. Caro and como. Uy. Tan chiquitito. Yeah. Bien. So instead of más que, menos que, it's got to be tan como, tan caro como, es tan rápido como. Ok, vale, ¿sí? ¿Entienden? Does that make sense? See, Tomas, that answered your question, right? And Doug, you have the same question. Exacto. See? Bien? Okay. If I want to say Mexican food is just as good as Chinese food,
La comida mexicana
la comida mexicana es
es tan buena,
buena
como
como
la comida china.
la comida china. La comida mexicana es tan buena, just as good, tan buena como la comida china. La comida mexicana es tan rica, tasty, es tan sabrosa, it's tasty, tan sabrosa como la comida china. Bien? But a different structure for equal comparisons. And I'll send you some videos to watch on equal comparisons, okay? Because they get just a touch trickier because sometimes something will happen with that word tan. We'll say, oh, shoot, why did it go to a little different form? But we'll kind of
Marilyn,
see.
do you ever use the word igual in the comparisons of equal things?
Sometimes you do, but tan description and como, I would say, is more common. If you say it's all the same to me, it's all the same to me, and you're just talking about like how you value it, the common way to say that is me da igual. It gives me equal. Me da igual. All the same to me. Me da igual. Me da igual. So if I want to, por ejemplo, if you want to look at, somebody gives you a choice for dessert and you look at el pastel de chocolate and el cheesecake, el pastel de queso, el pastel de queso, el pastel de chocolate. And you say, I don't really care. It's all the same to me. All the same. The common way for somebody to respond to that is, me da igual. It's just, it gives me the same. It gives me equal, which sounds weird, but me da igual. It's all the same to me. Me da igual. You know, I don't really care. Either one. You're saying either one. Yeah. Okay. Vale. Fantástico. Okay. Más preguntas. More questions or no? No? Uno más. One more. And I'll put in a little etiqueta. Okay, bien. I'm going to put in two more little stickers because these are going to be, these are going to be infinitives. Okay. Okay. Ustedes van a comparar las botas, los zapatos de tacón alto. Tacón alto. Tacón alto es.
High heel.
High heel. Yeah. Los niños y los adolescentes. Teenagers and little kids. You're going to compare two dresses. And you know, here you can just use este en esa, this one and that one, or este en eso, this one and that one, or ese eso, whichever. You know, you've got one dress and another dress. They're both dresses. They're both vestido. Okay. Or el vestido a la izquierda, the dress on the right. El vestido a la derecha. Okay. But when we talk about these two things, we're going to have to talk about them, or you're going to have to talk about them as activities. And when we talk about activities, if you want to say biking or riding a bike, and you're using the riding or the biking as a noun, then we have to use it as an infinitive. Okay. So you'll just use it as montar en bici, boom. That means cycling, biking, riding a bike, montar en bici. Okay. No el in front of it, no la in front of it, just montar en bici. And the activity of skiing will be just esquiar. Esquiar. Okay. Bien. When we talk about skiing as a sport, as a form of exercise, it'll stay as an infinitive, just as montar en bici stays an infinitive. Bien? Bien? Okay.
Sí.
Vale. Okay. I'll send you out with that. We'll come back and get some reactions with that. Un poquito más de práctica aquí. Vale. Muy bien, we're gonna have everybody coming back in just a minute. En un minuto. En menos que un minuto, less than a minute. Okay.
We lost our picture again.
Oh, you lost your, ay, lo siento. Okay. Aquí viene, here it comes. Let's put it through here.
Ta-da!
¡Tada! Bien. Okay. A ver. Bueno. Okay. Esperamos a unos más. We're waiting for just a few more people. Okay. Vale. Bueno. ¿Qué podemos decir? What are some of the examples we might have from these?
Los niños son tan ruidosos como los adolescentes.
Los
We had the
niños
same
son
one.
tan ruidosos como los adolescentes. Sí.
Well,
If you were to say more, los niños son más ruidosos que los adolescentes, or your opinion might be los adolescentes son más ruidosos que los niños.
los adolescentes son más locos que los
Son-
niños.
Los adolescentes son más locos, sí, are more crazy people, sí. Están más locos que los niños, sí. Los adolescentes son más difíciles que los niños, sí. Los niños son más preciosos que los adolescentes. Sí. Los niños son más dulces, sí, que los adolescentes. Sweeter than. Okay. Bueno, más comparaciones, more comparisons.
Los zapatos de tacón alto es muy bonita que las botas.
Okay. Son más
son.
bonitos
Sí,
que las botas, sí.
las botas.
Sí,
Pero las botas que más practical.
Okay. Son más prácticas.
Sí.
Son más cómodas.
Son más cómodas. Exacto. Las botas son más cómodas, more comfortable. Las botas son más prácticas. They are more practical. Sí.
Question. If you
Sí,
want to say easier to walk in,
Okay.
¿a caminar or fácil
Es más fácil caminar. Es más fácil de caminar en las botas que en los zapatos de tacón alto. Es más fácil de caminar. It is easier to walk. Sí, and you can see there are a lot of rabbit holes we can start to go down with some of these comparisons, because sometimes it gets tricky how to, phrase that a little bit, but you get the idea. Sí. Okay. Bueno, ¿qué más? Sí, di.
Me gusta la vestida a la izquierda. No, me gusta
El vestido.
el vestido a la izquierda tan como la vestida a la derecha.
Okay. So we're going to pare that down a little bit. Me gusta más, I like better. And that's all you need. Me gusta más el vestido a la izquierda. I like the left one better.
What if I wanted to say I like them as much as?
Me gusta tanto el vestido a la izquierda como el vestido a la derecha. Yeah, well, you're going to see more of these tan como examples in just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Me gustan los dos. I like the two. Me gustan los dos. Me gustan ambos. I like both. Same way to say that, same idea. Okay, más, anything else you can say? Actividades.
I have a question.
Cindy.
We were just saying you like it more, when does or like it better? Oh, I get it. I'm thinking,
Me
Uh-huh.
gusta mejor.
uh-huh.
Me gusta mejor. I like better. Me gusta mejor montar en bici que esquiar. Me gusta mejor. I like better. Me gusta mejor montar en bici que esquiar.
Okay.
But really more, that is more frequently said as me gusta más. I like more. I think you will hear people use that more as me gusta más montar en bici. Me gusta más. I like this more. Even though mejor does mean better, and somebody who totally understand it, I think it comes out more naturally as me gusta más montar en bici. Para que sepan, so you know. Sí, Doug. Or Bill,
No.
perdón.
Oh, yeah, I was struggling with the idea of describing the skiers having more clothes on than the bicyclers.
Okay. So let's keep
Necesita-
it simple. Es buena observación. Buena observación. Okay. We're going to keep it
Necesita
simple.
más.
Tener is have, right?
Pardon?
Tener is have. See?
Yes.
Tener is
Sí.
have. Okay. Las personas que esquían, the people who are skiing, las personas que esquían tienen más ropa que más ropa puesta, more clothing on. Tienen más ropa puesta, have more clothing on.
So with Bill,
que-
can we just say necesita más ropa para esquiar que
Nece-
montar en bici? Can we
Sí,
just say
sí,
it like,
sí.
Okay.
Sí. And you can make it impersonal by saying se necesita. One needs. Se necesita más ropa para esquiar que montar en bici. Sí.
Mhm.
Se necesita, one needs, meaning anybody who did this sport. Se necesita más ropa para esquiar que montar en bici. Perfecto.
Okay.
Perfecto. Bien, bien. But you can see how sometimes we get into kind of, oh yeah, how do I phrase some of these? It can get a little bit confusing. Algo más, something more. If not, we're going to go in a little bit into this as much as. Actually, I'm going to give you, perdón. I'll put this back up for 1 minute. I'm going to give you a little link to Padlet. Padlet is a little site. It'll just give you a link, like as if I gave you a link to go to a YouTube. It'll be the same kind of thing. And the little Padlet link will ask you to compare these items on your own sometime during the week. Okay? And you can compare them any way you want. And I'll actually label these. So you'll be talking about la camiseta versus la camisa, right? You'll be talking about los perros, all dogs in general, not just these dogs, with los gatos, cats. You'll be comparing la ensalada, a salad, with la comida chatarra, junk food. Okay, bien. And I will ask you to go on a little site. It is called Padlet. It will look like this, para que sepan, just so you know. And you're going to have a different category. I just happen to have this category called up. So you won't have record the numbers. You'll have a little section that will say make comparisons. Okay. And when you do that, when you get to the site, how you will navigate on it was, you'll go, it won't say record numbers. Imagine that this tab says make comparisons. You'll hit the little plus, and then you're going to look for the little pink diamond. I'll write down these directions for you. Hexagon. You got a little pink hexagon. You'll hit that, and then you'll hit audio recorder. And the thing you've got to remember to do when you do the audio recorder, and it's clocking here, I think because I have too many functions going on. You have to hit the microphone once to record, hit it again to stop, and you have to type your name in. Otherwise, I'll just be guessing whose voice is this, which won't be easy for me to do. Okay, bien. So, okay. All right, so that's how that will work, but I'll give you little instructions on how to get to that. So you'll be doing the last screen of that on your own. Okay, what we're going to take a look at is those equality comparisons. And the equality comparisons are, I think just a little bit harder to do, but you have to have, you know, well, are they really harder? Not as hard as you think, but we're going to look at some examples. These are not going to show you the rule. This is just going to show you examples so that you can see how the word order runs. Now, this is for, perdón. We don't really want to be seeing us. We want to be seeing the screen. Okay. You see the little black screen now? ¿Pueden ver? ¿Sí? La pantalla negra muy pequeña. Okay. They're going to show you, they're going to go through a little conversation and you're going to see how equal the same as comparisons work in these examples. Micaela, come on in, please. Pasa por favor, come on in. How you doing? Hey, we got to talk about these two gals, Valentina y Paulina. Tenemos que hablar means we have to talk. We have to talk about these girls. And he's going to compare Valentina and Paulina. Creo que means I think that. Creo que. Literally, it means I believe that. But when you give an opinion, it means I think that. Okay. Creo que Valentina es tan talentosa como Paulina. He thinks Valentina is
more talented.
As
not
talented.
more.
As talented.
As
talented
talented
as.
Pauline.
So look at what happens. He's talking about two gals. So the description talentosa, talented, has to be a feminine form because he's talking about Valentina first. Tan talentosa como. And now he plugs in the second person. And no crees is, don't you think? Okay, so tan talentosa, they're just asking you to say which one of these two it means. It means as talented as.
Miguel, estoy bien. ¿Y tú? Yo también creo que Paulina es.
Ah.
I also believe.
Yeah, I also believe that Paulina is just as hardworking. Trabajadora means hardworking. Paulina es
tan trabajadora como.
Tan trabajadora como. As hardworking as. We use as and as, but they have to have tan and como. Okay. Sin duda, without doubt. No doubt. Ah, bien. Okay. Valentina has shown on tour, La Gira is tour, on tour that she works
as hard as.
Tan duro como. And now you say, wait a minute. If I'm talking about Valentina, how come this goes into duro? It's because they're talking about the work. As hard as refers to her action of working. Trabaja tan duro como, works as hard as. Okay. We're not saying Valentina is hard as somebody. Okay. She's as hard as a rock. No. We're saying that she works as hard. So, we can use this to talk about actions quite a lot. Valentina trabaja tan duro como means works as hard as.
Sí. Ella demostró que era.
She showed that she was as professional as. How would we say, which one of these would express as professional as?
Tan profesional como.
We have to have
Unprofessional como.
tan profesional como. We cannot use que matched up with tan. Tan does not match up with que. Tan matches up with como. So we're getting used to the way the words roll here. Okay. Tan profesional como. Yeah. Tantas ganas is as much desire. ¿Crees que Valentina tiene? Do you think Valentina has as much desire to record? Grabar is to record. Un disco. Now, watch out. Uh-oh, something funny happens. Because I'm talking about ganas, ganas is a noun. Is a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. Ganas means desires. And I'm going to show you how this one works. This one is where it gets a little confusing. Tantas ganas como.
Valentina. Paulina.
Valentina works as much as Paulina. Works as much. It'll either be trabaja tanto como or trabaja como tanto.
Tanto como.
Tanto como.
Tanto como. It's this combination.
Lo que no sé es si esto.
Lo que no sé, what I don't know. Ooh, what I don't know is what she's saying. Lo que no sé. What I don't know is if she's as disciplined as Paulina.
Tan disciplinada como.
Es tan disciplinada como. We want Valentina to be as responsible as Paulina.
Tan responsable como.
Tan responsable como. So we're getting you just used to what words usually hang together. Oh, she doesn't have as much experience.
Tanta experiencia como.
Yeah, she doesn't have as much experience as Paulina. She doesn't have an experience, again, like ganas is a thing, not a description. So tanta experiencia como.
Si Valentina trabaja
It,
hasta ahora, muy probable.
if Valentina works as fast as she has up until now, yeah, probably, she says. And again, and now we're talking about works. So rápido doesn't mean Valentina is a fast girl. It means she works fast. Rápido is talking about trabaja. She works. Valentina trabaja.
Tan rápido.
Tan rápido como.
Tan rápido como.
I'm not understanding the difference between tanto and tan. What do I?
We'll show you that. I'll show you that after we answer this one. Okay, bien? Rentable means profitable. Profitable. Necesitamos un disco rentable. We need a profitable record. Creo que los discos de colaboración, he thinks that the collaboration, so the duo records, are as successful as.
Tanto éxito como.
Tienen tanto éxito como.
Because it's a noun.
And let's pause for a minute. Vamos a pausar. We're going to pause. I'm going to pull up something else here. Okay. Ooh. Oh, I don't know if I've got. Bien, 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 bien. Whoop. Ooh, well, let me go. Ah. It may not let me go. Okay.
Are you trying to go to the next page?
Yeah, but I need a website to do that. So I got to find a different way to get into that. Zoom in is not going to help me. Okay, hang on. Yeah. I need to go into a different site to do that. Momentito, bear with me. Actually, okay. That totally took that off for you, right? You guys don't see that screen anymore, am I correct?
Thanks, sweetie.
Okay. Oop. Whoops. Perdón. I had something saved, but it isn't so saved as you would think. Okay. Oop, oops. Okay. Don't have it there. All right. Plan B. That's okay. Está bien. Let's take it to this. Okay. Here's where it gets a little harder than más que. If you're comparing things equally, it might be tan plus a description plus como, okay? And you got your first thing in front of tan, you got your second thing after como, right? The two things you're comparing. But sometimes this word tan may look like it's going into something else, and it is. It might be tanto plus a noun plus como. And because tanto is talking about a noun, it might have to be tanta with a feminine noun. Or it might even be tantos, or it might even be tantas. Let me show you an example. I have as much money as you do, right? What we're really talking about is the money. Is money a description? No, money is a thing. It's a noun. So, tengo tanto dinero como tú. Perdón. Tengo tanto dinero como tú. I've got as much money as you have. Okay, now it should work. Tengo tanto dinero como tú. Por ejemplo, I've got as many t-shirts. My son has as many t-shirts as his sister. Mi hijo tiene tantas camisetas como su hermana. What am I comparing? I'm pairing camisetas, t-shirts. T-shirts are a noun. So when I'm using this idea of as much as or as many as, and I'm using it with a noun, I've got to switch to this word, which will go into a noun agreement form. Oh, there's the difference. As, cute, tasty, difficult, as, right? But when I use it to talk about a noun, it's as many, whatever that item is, as. That's the difference. I still use the como, I still use tan, but tan needs to morph into something that agrees with a noun. If I talk about a noun, oh, so as cute as difficult as tasty as, when I use tan with a description, it's tan, and tan is always tan. And then the description, and then como. But when I say not as cute as, but as many of this thing as, now I'm talking about a thing, a noun, not a description anymore. And when that happens, when I use this idea of tan with a noun, it has to become one of these four things: tanto, tanta, tantos, tantas. As many t-shirts as much money as. Let's say Luis is as lucky, or no, let's say, let's say Luis is as lucky as Roberto. Luis, and to say is lucky, we use tiene with suerte. Okay. We've got a difficult thing. Suerte is a feminine noun. Okay, now you know that. Luis tiene tanta suerte como Roberto. You want to say Ana is as hungry as Carmen. Ana tiene tanta hambre como Carmen. Suerte, luck, is a noun. Hambre, hunger, is a noun. We happen to use these with tiene, okay? Here, tiene is just talking about flat out possessions, right? You have certain things, but tener suerte means to be lucky. Tener hambre means to be hungry. Okay, let's get some more concrete examples. La biblioteca. Library. ¿Sí? Tiene tantos libros como la librería. The library has as many books as the bookstore. Librería is a bookstore, not a library, yeah? But we're talking about not a description, but a thing, books, libros. Does that make sense now? See? See, I'm going to give you a video for the weekend about this because it's a different structure than más que, menos que, and it takes a while to see all these examples. If I want to compare the amount of food, comida, I want to say, I'm buying as much food as you are. Compro. How would I say as much food?
Tanta comida.
Tanta comida, because yeah, now food is not a description. Tanta comida
Como tú.
como tú. Compro tanta comida como tú. Bien. I eat as much food as you do. Como tanta comida como tú. Bien. Oh, let's keep it in the food realm, but change it up a little bit. Let's talk about platos. Dishes. Okay. And I'm talking dishes as in the idea of a recipe. Cocino.
Tantos platos.
Tantos platos
Como tú.
como tú.
Mhm.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Sí. Okay. Entienden. You get the idea. If I talk about things, nouns like comida, like platos, like camisetas, like libros, then I need these long forms of not just tan, but a word that will have a to on the end. We add to on the end of tan. Tanto or tanta or tantos or tantas, but it's going to depend which one of those four words it becomes depends on the noun it is talking about. And that happens because we're talking about a noun, and all words that correspond to a noun have to go into the form of the noun they're talking about. That doesn't happen with the descriptions because the description isn't a noun. So if I'm still talking about food, but I'm saying the food is as good as la comida casera, homemade food. La comida casera es tan buena. And now buena, good, is not a thing, it's a description. La comida casera es tan buena como la comida en un restaurante. Homemade food is as good as restaurant food. Okay. Oh, por ejemplo, la comida tailandesa. Thai food. La comida tailandesa es tan exótica como el sushi. I'm comparing them on equal levels. See?
Sí.
But I'm using a description, exotic. That's not a thing, it's a description. So with a description, it's always the easy combo. It's the easy combo of tan, which never changes, right?
Mhm.
Okay. With a noun, that word tan is more complex. I have to expand it to a bigger word that goes into gender and into number, like tanto, tanta, tantos, tantas. Okay. Descriptions in and of themselves look back at the people they talk about, but I don't need a special word with tan. It's just tan. It never changes. Here it does change because it's working with a noun. Bien?
Sí.
Sí, es complejo. Yeah, es complicado. It is complex. It is kind of complex. And that's why I don't lead off with this one for comparisons. Yeah, because it's a little bit of a mess. And you don't need to use this one when you do your descriptions this week. Okay. But I will send you one or maybe two different videos so that you see a bunch of that pattern play out and a bunch of examples with that pattern so you can start to get familiar with it. Bien? Are we good with that so far? Sí?
Sí.
Bien? Okay. Okay. And I promised I was going to give you an example of, uy, ¿dónde está? Where is it? Perdón. And un ejemplo, an example of our chucherías, our little food-driven things. Many of you have mentioned that you liked the little video on candies. I'm going to show you how that looked. Again, just to jog your memory. And also to show you how complicated things can be from a vocabulary, but I want to, okay, you remember. Recuerdan ustedes aquí. You guys remember this video, right? See? Okay. And she was talking about Spanish candies. Okay. But you'll notice she used the words chucherías. So here's what I want to tell you first about chucherías, and I'm going to put this in the chat box. Sometimes Spanish uses a lot of different vocabulary words to talk, and actually, instead of putting it in the chat box, I'm going to put it in a big screen. Sometimes, sadly, we get, ¿dónde? More than one word in Spanish where we would only use one word in English. Aquí. So I'm going to show you what she was talking about here. She used the word, which is a very Spanish word, chuchería. Chucherías, and usually it's used in plural. Chucherías means candies, yeah? But there are different words that they use in Spanish for candies, and they may just use them interchangeably. And there might not be that much difference. So here's a word that means the same thing. Golosinas means the same thing. Here's another word that means the same thing. Dulces. Here's another word that means the same thing. And this looks like what? Caramelos. Caramelos looks, yeah, it looks like caramel, but it doesn't necessarily mean a caramel. It could be a caramel or caramel, depending on how you pronounce that in English, right? Chucherías, golosinas, dulces, caramelos are all different words for saying candies.
I thought it's just a specific like gummies, you know, that chucherías.
Chucherías, I would say, okay, so I would never use chucherías if I were talking about chocolates. I would never use the word chucherías to talk about chocolates because chocolates are something kind of special. Yeah. They a special ingredient. Yeah. Just like we might say candies, sweets, goodies. All those fall under the umbrella of chucherías or golosinas or dulces or caramelos. But I would say none of those are necessarily chocolates. Caramelos might be, but you know, then you get chocolates and you get bombones. And bombones are probably some kind of chocolate. Bombones is like, you've heard the word bonbons, which comes from French. Bombones. No bombones, bombones with con M, bombones. Bombones. Bombones and chocolates are probably more chocolate combo with other things, para que sepan, just so you know. So that's what she was talking about with that. Pero las chucherías de españoles no son como las chucherías de Estados Unidos, ¿verdad? Las chucherías españoles son más raros, are stranger. Sí, son más raros que los dulces de Estados Unidos por lo general, ¿verdad? Right? Eso es. Okay, bien. So that's about it with that. I will send you some information to do the equal comparison items, you know, as something as, bien, for the week that's coming. And next week's will not cover this new information. It'll be more general, kind of vocab oriented thing. Okay, ¿está bien? Because it's an unofficial class. Bien?
Sí. Gracias.
Excelente.